Impact Wrestling X-Division champion Matt Sydal believes he has the perfect plan to end Brian Cage's undefeated streak at Slammiversary XVI. With his third eye open, Sydal will defend his title against The Machine at the pay-per-view at the Rebel Complex in Toronto, Ontario, Canada this Sunday on July 22. Since returning to Impact Wrestling in 2017, the 35-year-old, from St. Louis, Missouri has been reborn as a performer after traveling the world learning new skills in New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor and WWE. Sydal originally made a name for himself as Evan, born in WWE, where his high-flying moves impressed frequently, becoming a WWE Tag Team Champion with Kofi Kingston, before he was released in 2014. Speaking exclusively to Mirror Sports, Morgan Richards, Mr. Shooting Star Press opened up about his spiritual journey, representing the X-Division, his dream Impact opponent, and why he turned down an offer to return to WWE. Impact Wrestling X-Division champion Matt Sydal, image, Andrea Calloway, you're someone who constantly travels the globe and always tries to learn new things from every wrestling promotion you have been a part of. Even though Impact Wrestling has been your home for the last year, do you think the mixture of the two has helped you blossom into the individual and performer you are today? Yeah, I think that I've been able to see everything from all angles, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring a different perspective to professional wrestling. I'm approaching things from a higher perspective these days, and it's led to a ton of success at Impact Wrestling, because there isn't anything I haven't seen and there isn't anything that I can't see. So at the moment I'm just implementing my strategy to retain the X-Division belt against Brian Cage. I can't unveil all of it, but it will be great when you check out these videos that we're working on for Impact that are going to air at Slammiversary. I'm really excited about it. Even though you've always been one to impress and produce highlighting moments, people feel your recent work has taken you to that next level. What about Impact do you feel worked so well for you to express yourself, compared to your time in WWE, Ring of Honor or even New Japan? Well, I think for me the association with Impact is the reconnection to my roots, to the days where I was the youngest, the hungriest and the most creative. Early on in my career, when the X-Division belt first came onto the scene in professional wrestling, it was the ultimate goal. We all knew that was what the future of professional wrestling was going to be. The X-Division champions were going to be the future of pro wrestling, and that has always been the case. I feel that now is my chance to make a stand and let everybody know that I'm the guy the spotlight needs to be on, and that Impact Wrestling is the place to be. As you mentioned, you're now gearing up to defend your X-Division championship against Brian Cage at the company's biggest event of the year, Slammiversary, on July 22 in Toronto, Canada. What can we expect from the two of you, and what have you made of Cage's undefeated run leading up to this? I mean, of course he's undefeated, he's a beast, and everybody approaches Brian Cage the same way. They think they can work out a little bit more, train a little bit harder, and they'll have his number so they can beat him. It's not how it works with Brian Cage. You don't try and beat him at his own game, and that's the thing. I've never played into anyone else's game, I've always just played my own. I have a mental advantage over him, but most importantly I have an open third eye. I have the ability to look inside Brian and see where his weaknesses are. His shell, all the muscles, is really just that. Just a shell. Inside he's scared, and inside he's worried, and inside he's afraid that he's not good enough, he's not big enough, and he's not strong enough, so he walks to the ring the challenger, who doesn't believe in himself. I stand there a champion, fully confident with everything I've ever done in my entire career. So it's not about belief, it's about the reality in that present moment, and Brian Cage's mind will be everywhere else, and mine will be focused solely on what's happening in that exact moment. Slammiversary is going to be very special. The bigger the event, the more creative I like to get, and there's a great vibe at Impact right now. It's allowed me to be myself, fearlessly without worry of being judged, and the fact that I can put myself out there, on the biggest event, on the biggest night, I plan on making the biggest impact. X Division Championship has become a prestigious title to a lot of fans, seeing as the biggest names and high flyers in the business have competed for it over the years. Just how important is it for you to represent that now and carry on its legacy? The beauty of the X Division is that it's the expression division, it's where there's no limitations, there's no boundaries, and that's what I believe in. I believe in the dissolution of boundaries. All the assumptions that are made about what is pro wrestling, what is life, or how the world works, I'm here to question those assumptions, and that's what the X Division does. It says, there's more than one way to skin the cat, there are infinite number of ways of wrestling, and the X Division showcases that. Whoever does it the best is the champion, and it's not about doing any one thing the best, it's about being the best pro wrestler. It's like comparing artwork, there's no way to say who's best, and right now I know the attention is on me, but really I'm just channeling the spirit that runs through me from the craziest wrestlers in Japan and Mexico. For me, I'm not here to take credit for the X Division, but I am here to promote it and be the ambassador for it. Impact Wrestling X Division Champion Matt Sydal, Image, Andrea Calloway, WWE Hall of Famer Jeff Jarrett, excited and anxious for spoken word tour. You spent 7 years in WWE under the name Reborn, but I understand you actually turned down an offer to return to the company when it was starting back up its cruiserweight division, because you were learning so much from traveling around. Can you tell us about that? At that time, I was not under contract with New Japan, and I had talked to WWE about doing SmackDown and coming back for the Cruiserweight Classic, but as that was all going on, my relationship was growing with New Japan, and I was absolutely loving every second of every tier I was on. So when that offer from WWE came up, I just talked to New Japan and we set up a contract, and I signed for New Japan. For me it was a no-brainer, I was very happy, and there was no reason to change what I was doing. The work that Ricochet and I were making was the best stuff that I'd ever been doing, and for me, being IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion had been an ultimate dream of all time. When I was a kid, I never wanted to be in the WWE, I wanted to be a Japanese pro wrestler or Mexican wrestler, but I love the WWE and I grew so much and I learned so much. I can see myself working there again in the future, however, right now I'm thrilled with Impact. I miss and love New Japan and Dragon Gate, both those places I love wrestling in Japan. I got a lot of bookings, and I'm very fortunate that wrestling is going through such a period of growth and just all-round improvement. The things that when I stood out when I was a kid wrestling in my backyard that I'd hope wrestling would become is what is happening now, so it's awesome to be swimming around with everybody and I get to be on shows all across the world. Man, there's a great quote on something about teaching that says the more you try and teach, the more you learn. It's like you try and drink from the cup, but the cup drinks you. So that's what's happening with me and wrestling. I'm trying to drink the cup, but the cup keeps drinking me and I keep getting more and more out of it. It never seems to fill up. Impact Wrestling X Division Champion Matt Sydal backstage, Image, Andrea Calloway, Stephanie McMahon to make historic announcement on WWE Raw this Monday. Impact has started doing a lot of cross-promotional shows as of late. With that in mind, who would you like to see come in and challenge you for that X Division Championship? PFFFT, man. That's the thing, as the champion I'm going to be standing and waiting for challengers. There's a lot of people within Impact Wrestling who I feel should have a shot. I think Taiji Ishimori deserves a rematch, as he always does. He's a fantastic wrestler, and since I beat him for the title, I feel like that's a matchup that I would welcome and we could draw international attention. But my gosh, I was just talking about the New Japan Junior Heavyweight division, and some of that talent would just be incredible stuff. Back in the day there was no cross-promotion, there was no chance of having the Stone Cold Steve Austin vs. Goldberg match that should have happened. I mean, what's up with that whole Daniel Cormier and Brock Lesnar thing? It's a different era. If it seems like a good idea for the fans, for the creators of that work and for the people who are viewing it, then it's going to happen. So these real high-level junior heavyweight, X-Division pro wrestling matches, they're going to occur. Whether it's like me and Will Ospreay again, or me and Marty Scurll, myself and Ricochet. Come on, watching him grow throughout the years has been incredible. You know I wouldn't mind getting me, Ricochet and Rey Mysterio in a tag team against another six-man group of guys. I love the six-man tags. I love being X-Division champion, but you want me to do cross-promotion? Sign me up for the six-man tags because that's where some of my originality came from with Dragon Gate, and I feel like that's a speciality of mine that I love participating in. Especially with the great young minds, people with a great creativity that gives me great opportunities to get re-inspired and tune into that creative aspect of the work that you can only get through direct experience and being in the ring directly. Impact Wrestling X-Division Champion Matt Sydal, Image, Andrea Calloway, new UK TV channel Fight Network, to broadcast Impact Wrestling live outside the ring. You're quite a spiritual individual, embracing things like yoga and seeing the world through your third eye. Talk to us about the story behind your journey and how this has affected you inside and outside the ring. Well, I wouldn't consider myself a spiritual guy, but that's all. Language and words make these kind of topics difficult, even when we're talking about what am I, and me, who am I, or what am I? These are questions because I've been in wrestling, I've asked myself, and I've been able to see myself through other people's culture and witness things from afar, where you can analyze yourself from an outside perspective. Once you've been doing that for long enough, you really decide to look inside, because the external solutions that are offered to us by society in general have minimal substance and depth to them, whereas the answers you can find inside yourself bring a lot more peace and tranquility to the world. When you're not searching externally, then you're relying on yourself for all the answers in your community. It's just a different focus, you know. My mentality is not that I want to say anti-consumerism, but I just think it's cooler to have old things than buying new things. Like, I think shoes are cool, but how many do you need? For me, the simpler my life gets, the smoother my mind works, and the more distant ideas I'm able to grasp when there's less clutter and disturbances of the mind. Being in wrestling, I've got to experience awesome intensity, bright lights, the loudest speakers, huge pyro, and to balance that in my home life I like silence, equanimity, peace. I like to listen to the birds. I don't need sounds at all time. I don't have a TV blasting in my house. This isn't spirituality, this is just me trying to live a happy, balanced life and become a better person for myself so I can be better to others. Impact Wrestling X-Division Champion Matt Sydal, Image, Andrea Calloway. You with Impact Wrestling will be returning to the UK for Wrestling MediaCon at the Boulders Exhibition Centre in Manchester on September 8 and 9. What are your thoughts on having an event like this celebrating both wrestling and the media that's supported all year round? Let me tell you something, I understand media at a deeper level than any other single person in professional wrestling. Let me tell you about media and how it's important. Right now we have electronic media. Instead of having things on our feet, we have a car and it drives us places, so we kind of extend our feet with a car. We can extend our central nervous system through digital technology, and what we're able to do is allow every single person to feel and experience directly, remotely when they're away from it. So this is good news for people in Manchester, but it's also good for our fans in Amsterdam and Mexico City, St. Louis, Missouri, and Los Angeles. There is no domestic or international, it's just one big planet. You can get from one side to the other in just a day, and actually that's what you should do, because Manchester isn't that far from anywhere if you have access to a plane. So everybody should get there and do the MediaCon. Impact Wrestling Slammiversary takes place on Sunday, July 22nd, Monday, July 23rd at 1 a.m. for UK viewers, and will be shown live in the UK via Fight.tv.